What is this? Well, this is the Mahindra Scorpio, and it's a brand new SUV for Australia, sitting in the large below $70,000 category. That means it goes up against the likes of the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport, the Toyota Fortuner, and the Toyota Prado. Now, they're obviously some pretty serious contenders, but where this stands out is with its starting price. There are two models on sale in Australia, including the Z8 and the Z8L, which is what this one is, with prices starting at, get this, $41,990 for the base model, and then $44,990 for this top of the range model. So straight away you can see there is a big appeal to this just from the price. With everything becoming so expensive these days, models like this are going to become very, very attractive. Speaking of attractive, this is designed in partnership with Pininfarina. And yeah, they haven't really designed anything good in the last few decades, have they? Part of it has also been put together by Mahindra's own design facility in India. On first impressions, it doesn't seem that big, but when you look at the dimensions, so 4.6 meters long and 1.6 meters wide, it is quite a big vehicle. At the front, it's got full LED headlights, and then down below is this rather strange little section here. I don't quite get what that is. Is it an intake or I don't know, but it just looks a bit funny. But then you've got a real intake in the side there. Fog lights or driving lights, LED daytime running lights, and then the rest of the front end, it looks pretty distinctive, especially with this sort of chrome stripe that extends all the way across, and some vertical slats in the grille, chrome plated. This is an all-new model based on a fresh platform, according to Mahindra, and it is a proper ladder frame type chassis, so it does go up against those more heavy-duty, rugged style SUVs. This is not a crossover per se. Under the bonnet there is a 2.2 litre turbo diesel 4-cylinder engine, the big high-mounted turbocharger there, matched to a apparently class-leading 6-speed automatic. Now, I don't know what's so class-leading about it, but that's just what it says in the press kit. Interestingly, the hazard lights come on automatically when you open the bonnet. I don't think I've seen that in a vehicle before. That's pretty handy, so you know, if you're broken down, you don't have to worry about putting your hazards on. It automatically comes on for you, just to let other motorists know that you could be having some troubles. It produces 129 kilowatts and 400 newton meters, which is not exactly class leading. In fact, it's at the lower, just trying to think, I think it is the least powerful out of those rivals, so the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport, Fortuner and all that. That is the lowest output of those. They're all at about 150 these days, except for the Isuzu MU-X 140. And then the current Pajero Sport is 133, but that'll likely adopt the new engine from the new Triton, which is 150 kilowatts as well. But as I've been learning after driving this for a little bit now, you just keep falling back to that price. So whatever downsides or you know, potential negatives that it has, you have to factor in that low starting price. Even though it does only produce 129 kilowatts, it doesn't cost that much, so you have to give it some leeway. I've just shut the bonnet and the hazard lights automatically turned off as well, so that's pretty cool. As standard, you get a set of 255/60 tyres, at least on this Z8L variant. I haven't heard of that brand, MRF, before. But that is pretty wide. 255's pretty good for a big SUV like this. And they're mounted on 18-inch alloy wheels. I have noticed some potential quality control issues, potentially. So I can't say for sure because I don't know where this car has been or what other journalists have done with it. But for example, this side step, it doesn't appear to be bolted down at all at the front here. But that could have been damaged from someone off-roading before me. And then inside, this brake pedal moves around quite a bit. It's, I mean, it feels okay once you're driving, but yeah, it probably shouldn't move around quite that much. The rest of the interior though is quite nice. Again, considering that low starting price. It's got two-tone brown and black leather, or leatherette, and it extends across to the dashboard, the center console lid, and even parts of the center console there, although it's kind of a plastic interpretation. And then inside you do have to step up because this is a proper off-road SUV. It feels pretty spacious. It feels tall. The ceiling is nowhere near my head, so even if you are quite a tall individual, you're probably going to have no troubles in here fitting in. And it does feel pretty luxurious, at least it looks luxurious. Most of the trimmings, it does have plastic across the top of the dash there, but it feels pretty well made. Like there's no extra rattles or anything serious that really stands out for me anyway. The engine is pretty refined, it doesn't sound too loud or clattery. I mean, I've driven some other competitors that are noisier or have more vibrations than this engine. It reminds me of the Hyundai Kia 2.2 turbo diesel actually. It's very similar sort of noise and loudness. There might be just a bit more clattering going on. But certainly totally acceptable for a family SUV like this. In terms of visibility, it's definitely nice and high up, but that side mirror does block that corner area just a little bit, so I'll put the camera where my head is. So yeah, you've got a pretty big sort of dead zone there where you can't see through, whereas a lot of rivals, the mirror is mounted a bit lower down or further out, so you can see through the gap there. But yeah, where my head position is, that's a big blind spot there. But the pillar is quite thin, so you can see around this way pretty easily. And look, I can see the bonnet as well, even from my head position. The window sills are also quite low, so you can see straight over that. Even in the back, the kids are going to be fine being able to see out the window, not get car sick or claustrophobic or anything like that. And then visibility out the rear window is also very good. It's just a basic rectangular style window, almost upright. Even though this isn't a performance SUV, I actually find this vehicle very interesting because it is just so different, and it shows that, you know, if you just want an SUV that goes off-road, in this case anyway, if you just want an SUV that goes off-road and it does pretty much everything, you don't need to spend so much, and it doesn't need to cost so much, on first impressions anyway. This does come with a touchscreen system. It's pretty easy to use. I like the graphics, they're not too bad. It's not black and white or anything like that. It does have a home button as well, and I like that it's got separate climate controls down here, as well as some buttons along here for the auto stop start. You can turn that off just there, you don't have to dig into the screen. It's also got a wireless phone charger on the top Z8L model, as well as a couple of USB ports. Not sure if you can see that, probably too close. The top Z8L does come with a Sony 12-speaker sound system, which sounds really good, but it doesn't come with digital radio, which is a bit unfortunate, although you can connect via Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The top model also comes with a sunroof, just for a bit of extra luxury, and you can actually open that as well, tilt and slide. And it also comes with one-touch power windows for the front windows. It's actually a little bit too sensitive. You can't just, if I want to wind the window down 1 centimetre or 1 inch, it keeps going all the way. You just touch the button and it just keeps going. So it's a bit fiddly, but it is better than having a non-automatic or non-one-touch button system like some of the rivals have. The back ones are just usual manual. You've got to hold the button down. And then in the back, this example has a unique 2 captain's chairs in the middle row. Even got flip down armrests for that extra added luxury. And then the space back here is quite good. These seats are a little bit firm, but it is a pretty new vehicle. I think it's only got 6,000 kilometers on the clock or something, so that might loosen up a little bit. But I think the kids will actually like that these are mounted pretty high. They're actually a little bit higher than the front seats, so you can almost see over that headrest. If you're a bit taller, you could totally see over the top of the headrest. But yeah, it does feel like I'm sitting higher than in the front passengers. And again, you've got the low window sills, so you can see straight out the window, which is nice, because you don't want the kids getting claustrophobic back here, or even adults if you're carrying adults. Sometimes having the window sill really high just makes you feel a bit, closed in, like you're in a coupe or something. There is a more modern USB-C port at the back, even though there's 2 conventional USBs at the front. I don't quite understand that. But you do have climate or semi-climate control in terms of being able to adjust the fan speed. It does feel like a bit of a bus back here, to be honest, but I guess the high riding position does that, and also the sort of captain's chairs kind of do that as well because it feels like you're on a coach or something. In saying that, you've got heaps of room. So look at the headroom there. There's plenty of room left over, and even legroom is very good. Access to the third row is a little bit difficult if you're a larger individual because you've got to squeeze through this little gap here, or you can flip down the seats. But it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you know what they are, but dicky seats. Remember back in the 90s, some vehicles had dicky seats in the back? That's pretty much what this is. So like a Daihatsu Rocky or something like that. It's just a twin bench that folds up. I'll show you the boot in a second, and it does actually take up a lot of boot space, but you might be able to remove it completely if you don't need them. But yeah, the legroom is not the best. The floor is actually quite high down there as well. You probably can't see that, but it sort of raises up on the edges, probably where the wheel arch is. But yeah, it means your knees sort of sit up a fair bit. It's funny, it makes me laugh, I don't know why, but it's just cars like this, they're just very interesting and just, yeah, put a smile on my face for some reason. It does have little handles back here, so if you're off-roading, anyone that's unfortunate enough to have to sit back here, can hang on. There's no cup holders though, or any charging ports. But again, it comes back to that price. You can't expect Rolls-Royce luxury for something that's this affordable. And right at the back, we've got a side hinged tailgate and not too much boot space left over when you have those rear seats up. In fact, it only just fits in there. Even with that headrest popped up, it must just miss the glass. What is handy though, you pull the handle and it will try to push itself out. Just to help you. And then to flip up the back seats, pull this handle and then this strap, sorry, and pull this strap and the whole thing will flip up. But even that is not all that much space. It is very tall, so you can definitely give it that. You'll fit some furniture and so on in there, but just in terms of shopping, you can't really, stack up shopping to the ceiling. You need more load space on the floor. And that's not all that much compared with those rivals. Again though, you might be able to remove those seats altogether. If you want to unbolt them, you'll get a lot more room. So far then, the Mahindra Scorpio definitely has some attractive qualities. It is a little bit quirky and some areas probably could do with a bit more polish, but overall, you've got to look back at that price, and I think it's important to do that. If you're comparing it against any of the rivals, just keep in mind you're going to be saving about $20,000. That's about 10 years worth of fuel. Let's go for a drive now and see how it handles and how it goes. This is a very user-friendly vehicle, so simple to drive. Conventional gear stick, P, R, N and D, and manual mode to the left there, and you've got plus and minus as well. In terms of handling, look, this is not a sports car by any means or even a crossover. This is a proper heavy-duty SUV, as I've said. So you can't expect, really good handling, but it actually is not too bad. The body roll is reasonably minimal, but the steering is just a little bit tight, a little bit too sharp for the body. You only need to turn it a little bit and it causes the whole thing to move. But there is some slack with those big balloony tyres. The powertrain is what lets it down the most, I think, anyway. There is a bit of a driveline shunt, so if you're cruising along and you've got your foot on the accelerator a little bit just to maintain the speed, and you back off, and then you put the accelerator back on, you probably can't hear it through the camera, but there's a definite moment of hesitation as the driveline slack picks up, or the slack disappears. That just then, you hear that? And it just has this bit of a bump or a shunt in the back as it picks up the extra slack. And in speaking of which, overtaking performance, I'll just give you a bit of a demonstration now. So 60 kilometers an hour, floor it. That's 80. And that's 100. So it's not brisk. That means it's a bit of a slight hill there, but yeah, performance is at the lower end of the class. I've noticed another strange characteristic as well. So if you have the stop-start system on, you pull up to the lights, the engine turns off. Now if I just change my mind and say, no, I don't want stop-start on, I turn it off, the engine should start back up again. I've still got my foot on the brake, by the way. But if I take my foot off the brake now, nothing happens. So I've got to actually go back into park, start the car again. This happened to me the other night while I was at traffic lights. People were blasting behind me, and then you can keep going. So it's a very strange little calibration tweak that's needed there. But in general, around corners and things, it doesn't feel too bad. It doesn't feel like it's going to tip over or anything like that. The handling is actually it sort of squirts around. The back end kind of feels like it's a short wheelbase vehicle, the way it goes around corners. But yeah, there's a little bit of body roll, which some of it can be attributed to the big, tall tyres. Over corrugations and things, there is some vibrations, and it does actually bump steer a little bit as well. So if you hit a few corrugations in a row, it will start to drift in its lane a little bit, compared with other ladder frame SUVs that I've driven that seem a bit more compliant, a bit more stable, whereas this does, yeah, shudder around a little bit. Getting up to speed, yeah, it's just a little bit slow, even compared with some other diesel big heavy-duty SUVs like this. Once you're up to speed though, it cruises really nicely, and the engine is fairly quiet. I'm at 80 kilometers an hour now. It's only requiring about 1800 RPM. Again, you've got that awesome visibility that just really helps to provide a nice, open and free sort of in-cabin experience. Rattles and things inside the cabin are pretty good. There's not too many that I can hear. I did hear the dash rattle a little bit at one point, but I think it was because the engine was cold and it was producing a bit more vibration than it normally is when it's at normal operating temperature. But yeah, overall it's very good for this price range. It does come with cruise control, but it's not adaptive, which I don't mind that actually. I know it's a bit behind in terms of technology, but I don't mind non-adaptive, because if you're in a busy sort of highway where there's lots of cars around, adaptive cruise control, I find, just pushes you further back in the queue, because someone will get in front of you, so the car will automatically brake and provide that safe distance. And then you've got to sort of, if you don't touch anything, you'll end up right at the back of the traffic flow. Whereas if you've got normal manual cruise control, you just keep an eye on your surroundings, look ahead as well. So if you've got a car coming up, you'll know to get out of the lane and just concentrate on your driving a bit more. Obviously, I'm trying to make a bad situation good, but yeah, I just mean that I prefer actually non-adaptive cruise control, but yeah, it definitely is a downside compared with most of the rivals which have fully adaptive by now. It would also be good if it showed what speed I had the cruise control set to, so there's no readout when I toggle through the different speeds here. There's nothing there, so I don't know what speed I've got it set to. I've just got to sort of guess and keep an eye on my actual speed. It also does not come with lane keep assist, so if I get close to the lane here, it won't do anything. There's no warning on the side mirror either, so if I indicate and there's a car in my blind spot, it won't give me a warning. Safety is a bit behind. Wind noise is pretty good. I can hear a bit around that big mirror there, but overall, this is a very tall and upright vehicle, so you know it has to carve a big hole in the air as you're going along, and I think it's pretty good. I'm not raising my voice too much. Again, it comes back to that price segment. This is a very affordable SUV compared with the nearest rivals. So you have to expect some lower standards in terms of refinement, but it's still quite good. If I was driving a Prado right now, I think it would be a bit quieter, but not as much as you might think, and certainly not to the in comparison with the price difference. Okay, so I'm about to head into the off-road section now. And it's not a serious off-road track, so if you want to comment and criticise that I'm not taking it on hard enough, it's not that I'm sort of scared of getting stuck or even scared of damaging the car, although I don't want to damage the car. It's very hard to find an off-road track in Sydney, or within reach of Sydney anyway. They've closed off a lot of the little tracks that I used to go along, and I think that's because of just people littering and treating the area badly. So it is a bit of a shame, but this area I'm going to now, I've been here maybe 20 times with different vehicles, so Land Cruisers, 70 series, 300 series, to common utes, and even some little SUVs. So I've got a bit of a benchmark on how I know how cars get through, or how vehicles get through, and how well they don't. But it's also one of those areas where you can get bogged pretty easily if you don't be careful. Like, you don't think you're going to be stuck, but then there's some mounds and sort of mogul type things that you could get stuck in there, and you just think, how the hell did I get stuck into that? I remember one time I was filming a Holden Astra, and I was down near the harbour at Wollongong, and there was a boat ramp with a nice sort of, it looked like hard packed, sort of damp sand, very hard packed, it looked like it anyway. So I thought I'll just go down that boat ramp and just gently put it onto the little hard packed bit of sand there and take a good photo, you know. So anyway, I just drove down the ramp, and it straight away just sunk down into the sand. I was like, oh no, put it into reverse, spinning the wheels, completely bellied out. Was not expecting that at all. Luckily there were people around and they were willing to help push the car out. I was literally in about a foot onto the sand, and that's it. It just sunk straight down. So you do have to be careful wherever you go. But this area is a good all-round test, I think, because it's probably about the limit of where the general motorist is going to be willing to push their SUV. But at the same time, you know, there are some difficult bits, so we can test the vehicle a bit anyway. To start with, I'm just on this sort of corrugated dirt road, a lot of little corrugations here, and it does manage it okay, but there is some sort of bump steer happening. It's not completely planted. It is quite comfortable though, so you've got to give it that. There's a balance between comfort and being able to keep the wheels stable and planted on the ground. A little bit of vibrations, that's okay, because this is very corrugated road. Yeah, it goes through pretty well. I'm still in the normal two-wheel drive mode, by the way. I'll flick it into four-wheel drive in a second. Okay, so it looks like they've been doing some logging down here since the last time I was here, but basically there's a nice little loop. So you go down here and it comes back around and spits you out through there. It has been raining yesterday and the day before, so it is going to be a bit mucky. I know that little boggy section through there is okay, it's not too deep, but you can never just assume these things, so I will check before I go through that. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll put it into four-wheel drive H. Little symbol comes up there on the dash showing that it's going into four-wheel drive. I've just put it into neutral just for a second there, just while it gears itself up, and we'll go around this way. I can hear a gear whine actually. As soon as I put it into four-wheel drive, there's a very faint gear whine. You might be able to hear that. So this little area here, it's a bit of a steep little pothole. I'll go through a few of them on purpose. That was the stability control just kicking in just for a second, or traction control. There's some more up here. Now this one looks like it has taken on a bit of water, so I'm just going to go on the outside here to start with. Yeah, nice. And then up here is a bit of a steep decline and an incline as well, so we can test out the hill descent control. It's not quite as steep going down this way, but it is steep going up the other side, and it's very muddy up the other side too, so it can get very, very slippery. There's usually a little creek crossing down here, but it's been so dry lately in Sydney that it's look at that, it's not even wet at all. So this is usually quite a nice little creek coming through here, but it's completely dried out, even though we had rain yesterday and the day before. So this is quite steep. It probably doesn't look like it on camera, but it's quite steep. So I would not struggle, but I could walk up here, but I'd have to concentrate a bit and, lean forward and whatever. See how it goes. There's not too many, it's not muddy actually. There's a big ditch just here. I'll actually put the wheel in there on purpose. problem. Another big ditch just here, I'll go in it on purpose. The parking sensors just came on, but it didn't scrub out the bottom, so that's really good. I've been through there in some utes and it scrubs out the bottom. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, this thing. I'm surprised that, you know, the rivals, they're just a bit too serious, I think, sometimes. Whereas this, it's just a friendly, fun SUV. You can take it on a farm or something, or some tracks like this, and it will get you through. I don't want to go right in the tracks there because I haven't tested how deep they are, but I don't think they're that deep. The last time I was through there, they weren't that deep, but I'll just get out and check. Just grab this stick and we'll see how deep this is. This one doesn't look too bad. Yeah, that's not too bad. Goes a bit boggier down there. And that one's not very bad at all. But you never know how soggy it is along the bottom. So you've still got to be careful. I think the belly will scrub out a little bit on this mound just here. But that should be all right to go through. I'll go around again and we'll put it into the more difficult spot. So that time I was just testing to see how the area had eroded, and then this time we'll go through and I'll put it into more difficult situations. Mud rut mode activated. And I might turn the traction control off because I don't want that intervening and hitting the brakes on the wheels when I'm trying to get through something boggy. Now, it did scrub out the bottom there, but it is pulling through, no problems. Yeah, nice. Really good. I'll try out that hill descent control going back down this section. So again, it might not look that steep, but it is quite steep. Once we get over this mound, come down here a little bit. You just hit this button here, hill descent control ready. And I've got my feet off the brakes and it is managing the speed itself. That's not it scrubbing out, that's just the traction control system sorting it all out. Okay, this time I'll activate the camera. We can see where we're going, although it doesn't provide that much help really, and it's not very good, very high resolution. I can see the lines in there, particularly with the split screen. But if I go back to that forward visibility one, the forward view one, it's not. Look, it's all right if you're coming over a big mound or something and you don't see what's on the other side because your windscreen's basically pointing in the sky. That will provide a view to show you that, you know, there's nothing serious there, or there could be something serious there, like a log or something like that. I'll just leave that running. We'll go through right through the guts here. There we go, the Mahindra Scorpio Z8L. I must admit, I'm surprised how good it is off-road. It seemed to tackle everything we threw at it today with ease, keeping in mind that, yeah, this is not a serious sort of off-road area, but if you tried to get a normal crossover through here, you'd scrub out straight away, and I think you'd struggle through some of those sort of boggy mud holes that we went through, whereas the drive system in this seems to hold up really well and know what it's doing. Mahindra actually claims first in class for multi-terrain select. I don't know if that's true, but I guess if you be very specific in the fine print, that might be first in class. It also boasts class-leading structural rigidity and class-leading off-road capability. Not sure about those two claims, but it certainly proved today that it is very good off-road. That ladder frame chassis, the live axle rear end, definitely helps. Should you buy one? I don't know, the safety is not quite up to the standards of some of the rivals, not just in my opinion, but actually on paper in terms of specifications. This doesn't come with some of the safety systems that those others do. Also, the resale value might not be that good. Again, that's a prediction and just pure opinion of mine. Also, some of the build quality is a little bit questionable, and I don't know, the design, I know it's Pininfarina influenced, or at least half designed by Pininfarina. It doesn't look that modern, and it doesn't look that appealing, really. I mean, black is probably the least favorable color because it doesn't show any of the key features, but yeah, I don't know. To me, it's not my cup of tea in terms of the design, but it's very rugged, it's upright, so you've got great visibility, great for if you live out here on farms and things. You just want something that's dependable, rugged, and it can get through, and you don't really care if you damage it too much, because it is very, very affordable. This vehicle does come with a full-size spare wheel, which definitely comes in handy when you are off-roading, because if you're in the middle of nowhere, the last thing you want to do, and you're off-road, if you're in the middle of nowhere, the last thing you want to do is put on a space saver spare, or, you know, kind of even worse, rely on a puncture repair kit. They do work, the puncture repair kit, the goop in the tyres that you spray in there, it does work, but if you split the tyre or the sidewall or something like that, then you're absolutely stuffed. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of our latest content. We'll have a full written review of this vehicle on our website soon, and we'll also do the 0 to 100 test for you. In the meantime, thanks for watching.